FreeMMOStation.com.
Hey guys, welcome to the station. I'm Skyland Shore. I just want to give you my thoughts and opinions on a new game coming out here, which is going to be a arena shooter, brawler, fighter thing. It's really hard to define this game because of some mechanics in it. It's kind of hard to call it a shooter when it has auto aiming as its primary mechanic. So, you know, there's going to be a little bit of weirdness here. And that's kind of why I want to take this approach to talking about it. I don't want to do some sort of like written out review. I want to be a little bit casual with this. I want to talk to you about Cosmic Break 2 here as a consumer, as you guys. So I want to come at this from eye level. I want to say that I think it's a cool game, but, you know, disclaimer, it's called a shooter, but it is entirely auto-aimed, okay? So what this means is that it's going to play a little bit more like Rise of Incarnates or a Spectacle Fighter, where everything is locked on, but it's more about positioning and tactics with your team and everything. And in this game, you do have actually like you have teams of 5, so you do have a team, and there is like objectives, and there's like a lot of map emphasis. Like you have to be at certain places at certain times. You can pick up environmental items. You can even throw them. You can even like do jump pads and crazy stuff like that. So there is like tactics, there is strategy, and even though there is a lack of mechanics in the shooter department, you know, it's called a shooter, so you'd expect to aim and everything, but you don't. So even though it lacks that, I'm not saying it's a bad game. Now, some people are gonna be totally turned off, but coming from a consumer to a consumer, you know, not as a reviewer, okay? I'm just telling you right now, I kind of had some fun with it, even though I was expecting not to have that much fun, because it is something really new. I mean, even though I've experienced it in other games, like Rise of Incarnates, I believe the Naruto Shippuden, and I believe there's a Gundam game that does this. Actually, there's a couple of Gundam games, because I know they're made in space, right? So, like the space battles, it's kind of hard to control them, so there's auto-locking. Yeah, anyways, I believe the Gundam game started this whole auto-locking Z-axis with 3D shooters, but it works, you know, because it's more than just a shooter, right? You have these different abilities, you have cooldowns, and like I said, all the different objectives and the environmental effects, and you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's not just a shooter, but you are going to see the game advertised as a shooter. A lot of the like characters have guns, and some characters are completely focused on shooting and sniping. But let me just talk about that a little bit. So the first character that I picked up, she's pretty cool. She's calm, collected, and she's kind of like a sniper. She does these big, epic attacks, right? Well, the thing is that, well, since I don't actually aim my attacks, I can't actually snipe, per se. So it's all about getting into position, kind of exposing myself a little bit, shooting, bursting down my cooldowns, and then moving, you know, getting into a safe spot and repositioning. So it's all about positioning, and it reminds me a lot about MOBAs or fighting games. If you're playing a long-range character like Datara from Naruto Shippuden, I don't know if you guys play that, you need to stay at a distance entirely. You cannot go close range. So even though basically you don't have much control in an arena game with where you move and how you aim, there is still some mechanics. There are some decisions to be made, okay? There are. So if you play someone who is really good and you yourself are at a high competency level, then the game is actually pretty fun. However, if you're just, you know, if you're new to the game, it can feel really easy. It's either you feel like everything's OP, either that, you know, you're doing great because just like for no reason, and they're doing great just for no reason because they have a certain character. You think it's rock, paper, scissors. Oh, I have a sniper, so they're going to beat me if they get close because they have a sword wielder. But it is kind of like that, okay? It is. I'm not going to say it's not like that, but the thing is that you need to be aware that, yeah, if they are someone who has a sword and they're really good at close range combat, you should probably try to stay away from them. Try not to make yourself so fucking apparent as a sniper. Just, you know, burst, reposition. And the game makes it really easy to do that with some of the environmental effects, but you have to be aware of them. You have to be aware of where the boosts are, where the hiding spots are, you know, so there are some tactics, which I think is pretty interesting. Now, the game is still kind of fun and casual and silly. It's really easy to get into, but I think as an American audience, you know, as an American and the Western audiences, I think that it's going to be kind of a shock to a lot of us because we are used to games like Halo, Call of Duty, which even they have aim assist. But still, we have this idea that you know, all shooters, all they do and all they're about, their focus is aiming and shooting. That's not actually true. The most popular shooters in the world, professionally, actually do not have an emphasis on aim. Now, back in the day, you know, Quake, Unreal Tournament, those games had an emphasis on aim, but nowadays it's actually not true. It's tactics, it's strategy, it's teamwork, it's learning the objective spawns, it's, you know, how you work with different vehicles or different sort of like scenarios. Well, like in Counter-Strike, right? You pick up different weapons at different times, you know, they cost money, so there's like a little bit of strategy with that. In this game, it's like that, okay? But it's just a little bit more obvious, right? It's like Yeah, there's no aiming. It's auto-aimed, but there is still strategy and tactics. But as a Western player, you're going to come into this and you're going to think it has no mechanics, okay? You're going to think that it's completely silly. It's just a completely casual game that is basically meaningless in autoplay. That's not the case, though. Trust me, I've played a lot of autoplay games, and I think I wanted to spend the first 5 minutes of this first impression just talking about that. That as a Westerner, you're going to come into this and think that it's autoplay, but it's not. It's just auto-aim, and even though there is auto-aim mechanics, trust me, guys, in your Call of Duty, in your Halo, in all of your console shooters, there is aim assist. And in no way is any of even the PC shooters like completely focused on aiming as the mechanic. I know it's a shooter, but that's just sort of like the medium, man. It's just the canvas for the paint. Really, there's so much more, okay? The objectives, the teamwork, and what's really cool in this game with teamwork is your team composition. Kind of similar to like Dirty Bomb, you choose 3 characters, and these are characters, they're not classes. I mean, they can be kind of customized a little bit, to which extent I don't know, but it's not like you're gonna be switching out entirely different skill sets. So you have these classes, and they all play a little bit differently. You know, they have their own niches to fill. Like I said, I played as a sniper character, a girl, but then also in my rotation, I had an aerial, which I think they're very, like, mobile. They fly a lot. They are kind of bursty with melee. And then I also had another dude who was kind of similar, but he could, he was really fast on the ground. He didn't have to be in the air, which I thought was pretty cool. Anyways, so you have a bunch of these different characters, and they're separated by humanoids and cosmoloids. So the cosmoloids are like robotic, and the humanoids are just like humanish, more humanish, but I think they're kind of like a mix of both. I don't know, there's actually a little bit of story to the game. We'll get into that. But mechanically, there is team composition-wise some tactics and strategy, and then when you get into the combat, it's basically like not very mechanical. There are some times where you can actually unlock from characters, and you can actually kind of like hit 2 people at once, or you can do some crazy melee moves. It's mainly melee. If you're trying to aim without actually locking on a lot of abilities, I don't know if it was just the characters that I picked, but a lot of the abilities wouldn't actually go off. Like, you had to lock on, so it was basically tab targeting, you know what I'm saying? So that was a little bit weird to get used to, but you just have to remember that this is a different kind of game. It says shooter, but it's not really a shooter. I would actually put it in, I would say it's a fighting game. It's more of a brawler, like Rise of Incarnates. Rise of Incarnates, half your abilities were ranged. Some characters were fully ranged characters. So even though that was a fighting game, it still had ranged characters. I think, you know, just because you have ranged characters doesn't make it a shooter. This plays more like a fighter. That happened, like mostly everyone is ranged or has ranged components to their kit. So even though it says shooter, it's really not. Anyways, we're done with that. You understand. You can see the gameplay. Let's go even deeper. Let's go down the rabbit hole. Okay, so you have these different characters. Some snipers. They're called aerials. That's pretty cool. You have 3 different classes. I think there might be more. There might be. Sorry, first impressions. But there are different kinds of characters, and each character does their own unique thing, and they look pretty cool too. I was a little bit disappointed to see like how little there were of human characters, and all the robots kind of look similar, especially at a distance. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a culture shock thing. Maybe the Japanese can recognize mechs a little bit easier, because come on, man, giant robots is like their heritage, right? But for me, it was just a little bit weird. You know, coming from Gigantic, Overwatch, these games where every single character is so definable, and then this game where a bunch of the characters actually look very similar, but the females, the humanoids, actually looked very different from each other, and they had their own very distinct personalities, and I really like the voice acting. The voice acting in this game is good. I watch a lot of anime, so I can kind of tell some good voice actors from the bad, and it seems like they got some good names in here. So I do appreciate that, even though I don't know the language. It's pretty good. Now, let's talk about the story. Let's talk about the story a little bit, because that is actually a big part of the game. It is a shooter, and it is an arena game, but it kind of plays a little bit different than like Rise of Incarnates, where you just play in the PvP matches, the lobbies there. No, you actually have like this overworld, and you can run around and talk to people, and it's all silly and fun in games. Maybe it kind of reminds me of Phantasy Star Online. I don't know, it's maybe like Guild Wars 1, where you can talk to people in like these little towns, but there's not like an MMO world to explore. So yeah, I don't know what's up with that. There is like a little bit of story. You can talk to some people. The anime art, the 2D art is really good. I do like the animations. Kind of reminds me of kind of like flash animation. It just looks really bright, colorful, very defined, and I do like that. You know, I do like the different characters and everything, and it adds like this sort of layer to the game that wouldn't be there otherwise. Like if you just joined a game like Titanfall, man. Titanfall, you just jump in. It's a shooter, and there's no love to the story. There is supposedly a campaign, but it's like you don't really feel it. In this game, you log in and you're in a 3D world. world, and then from there you can talk to people while you're waiting in a lobby and stuff like that. You get to see your characters, like you're in the world before you're actually in the game. You know what I'm saying? And I like that. I like that they put the world building first. Yeah, you know, I just think more games should do that. Like Grand Theft Auto Online does this actually. There's a couple other games like APB Reloaded where you're in the game before you actually get into matches, before you actually do the quests and everything like that. You get into, you're kind of you get situated with the engine and everything, and that's important. Don't throw us just right into lobbies, into matches, even though that's what this game is. You know, don't get me wrong. It's not an open world MMO or anything. It is different arenas, different matches, stuff like that. But it's just kind of cool that there is that extra little bit. There's a couple of games, definitely Eastern Japanese games that allow you to do this. You can kind of walk around a town real quick, talk to people, and then go into lobbies. And I just appreciate that. It's kind of popular in Eastern games, and I think more Western games should do that. I think it's cool. Anyway, so how does bullet travel time, how does aiming actually work? Now, it's not like, it is auto lock, okay? So you auto lock and that's it. You lock the Z axis. It's like playing Dark Souls, like playing Ocarina of Time, Zelda. It's like that, except the very three-dimensional game. So everyone can jump around and boost around and dodge and do all this crazy shit. The game's not super duper fast-paced, though I wish it was, especially because it does have Z locking. I wish it was ridiculous. Man, I wish it was like Armored Core, especially. Armored Core is really big. 4 and 4 answer, holy shit, that game is so fast-paced, and it really makes sense to have the locking mechanism then. But this game's actually really slow-paced. In fact, even if it didn't have Z locking, it would be an incredibly casual shooter because of how slow-paced and open and easy it is to play. But the fact that it does have Z locking, yeah, okay, so it does make it really easy to get into, but there is some mechanics to it, okay? So if somebody dodged to the left, then you know to use your abilities and shoot, because there is a slight cooldown on dodging. If they don't dodge, maybe you should hold off on using your cooldowns, okay? So even though you can't aim, there is still that playability between, you know, the tactics. What should you do when you should do it? Should you burst your cooldowns? Should you hold on to them? Should you bait out it? You know, maybe you should do like a little combo cancel or some crazy shit. I don't know, man. I don't know actually what's potentially possible in this game. I just know that there is at least something there, okay? So don't write off the game like it's complete garbage just because you're not used to it, which is actually what I did as soon as I started playing. But, you know, I'm kind of getting paid to do a first impression, so I was like, all right, let's play a little bit longer, and I'm really glad that I did because it looks kind of good. Now, the engine isn't amazing, and I put this is everything on Ultra, and it doesn't run or look that great, okay? The art style is okay at best, and overall the engine doesn't seem to be it's no Unreal 4, okay? It's nothing like that. But it's definitely worthy as a free-to-play game, so you might want to jump in, play it a little bit, see, I don't know, maybe dance around the story a little bit. I don't know, there's some cool characters, kind of flirty, I'll admit it's a little bit sexualized, but the world building is there. There could be something great. It is building off of, this is a sequel, you know, Cosmic Part 2, and I have no idea if there's actually going to be an anime or not. I know that Stratos is coming from an anime. It is Gunslinger Stratos, is a competing game coming out pretty soon here. You guys might want to check that out as well. It is a character shooter coming out, pretty action-packed, and it's you know, it's in the same genre, but that actually has an anime. This game, I don't know if it does have a light novel or not, for those who are interested. I don't read the light novels. I'm very light into manga. I'm more into manhwa. But yeah, this game's pretty cool, I guess. I would like to learn more about the world and everything. It kind of seems kind of cheesy, I guess, a little bit, but it seems alright, I guess. Kind of has like a Gurren Lagann kind of feel to it. You know, like a Kill la Kill, like it's kind of comical, but it's kind of serious. You don't really know where it's going. It could be awesome, could be bad, but you're in it for the ride anyways. But yeah, I'm gonna admit, guys, I wanted to do this video a little bit casually because there is a little bit of culture shock to this game. There are some mechanics that I don't quite understand. You know, like there's a lot of like randomness with your rewards, how you level up. I kind of can't understand it it wasn't something that I was just instantly like, you know, understandable. It wasn't instantly understandable for me because it's mainly a big thing in Eastern games to have a lot of these mechanics, so I can't really comment too much on those. Now, I'm sorry, I know I'm not quite qualified as a reviewer here, I'll be honest. A lot of Eastern games kind of just throw me for a loop, but I still wanted to do a video on it. I still wanted to, you know, talk about it, even if my thoughts were kind of jumbled up and everything. But let me just say that this is a very Eastern game, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that, but maybe, like me, you're gonna come into this game and just have the completely wrong idea for like 10 games straight. It's gonna take a while. You're gonna need some patience to learn this game because it's just got a lot of weird stuff. It's laid out in a weird way, and your rewards are weird, and the mechanics are weird, and pretty much everything about the game is weird, and it's just uncomfortable and very Eastern. But like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But just wanted to let you guys know. Thanks for watching. I'm Skyline Shore with FreeMMOStation. This is a new free-to-play multiplayer game, Cosmic Break 2. I had fun playing it. Hopefully you have fun too. And we'll see you again next time.